The rain hammered the penthouse windows like fists on a coffin lid. Each drop a reminder that mercy had long abandoned this glass tower overlooking Manhattan's jagged skyline. I stood there, fists balled at my sides, tasting blood from the split in my lip where his ring had caught me just minutes ago. Another lesson in loyalty, he called it. "Gabriel," he snarled, his voice a velvet-wrapped razor. "You think you can look at me like that? Like I'm the monster under your bed?" But in that split-second pause, as his blue eyes, those goddamn ocean blue eyes that had drowned me years ago, flickered with something new. Not rage, but fear. I knew the real storm was just beginning. It started 7 years back, in the humid haze of a Miami club where the bass thumped like a heartbeat on steroids. And I was just another ex-Marine scraping by on private security gigs for trust fund brats and wannabe rappers. That's when I first saw him, Alexander Hale, the golden boy of Hollywood's underbelly, heir to a media empire that peddled dreams to the masses while devouring souls in the shadows. He was 25 then, all sharp cheekbones and tousled blonde hair that felt like he just rolled out of a king's bed, wearing a silk shirt unbuttoned to his navel, laughing with that magnetic pull that made strangers orbit him like doomed satellites. I was hired on the spot, not for my service record in Fallujah, not for the scars that mapped my ribs like fault lines, but because he said my eyes looked like they could keep secrets. Flattery from a man like Alex was a drug, and I was already hooked. By dawn, we'd stumbled into his suite at the Fontainebleau, the ocean roaring outside like it wanted in on the chaos. He poured a scotch neat, his fingers brushing mine longer than necessary, and talked about the cage of expectations his father had built around him, the boardrooms, the forced marriages to starlets for photo ops, the endless parade of discreet affairs to keep the tabloids fat and the family name pristine. "I'm not made for this shit, Gabe," he whispered, his breath warm against my neck as we sat too close on the balcony chaise. "I need someone who sees me, not the air." That night, we crossed the line, his lips crashing into mine with the desperation of a man starving for authenticity, my hands mapping the lean planes of his back as if I could shield him from the world. It was raw, electric, the kind of sex that rewires your soul, bodies slick with sweat and salt air, his moans muffled against my shoulder like confessions he couldn't voice in daylight. But dawn brought the come-down. His father's jet was wheels up by noon, whisking us to New York, where the Hale penthouse became my new prison. Officially, I was his shadow, the bodyguard who scanned crowds at galas, vetted the sycophants at power lunches, and drove the armored Escalade through the vein-like traffic of Midtown. Unofficially, I was his anchor, his dirty secret, the one who held him when the panic attacks clawed up from his gut at 3 a.m., whispering that the empire would swallow him whole. We'd steal moments in the back of limos, his head in my lap as I stroked his hair, or in the steam of the master bath, where the water drowned out his sobs. "You're the only real thing I've got," he'd murmur, tracing the dog tags I still wore under my shirt, his touch igniting fires I thought I'd buried in the desert sands. The bruises started small, excuses wrapped in apologies. First one, after a board meeting where his old man eviscerated him over a botched merger, Alex stormed into the study, bottle of Macallan in hand, and swung wild. The glass shattered against the wall inches from my head, shards embedding in my forearm like accusations. I didn't mean. He dropped to his knees, kissing the cuts as I bled onto the Persian rug, his tears mixing with the scotch on my skin. I forgave him because love's a blindfold, and his remorse was a balm, sweeter than the high of his rare, unguarded laughs. But the swings grew bolder, fueled by coke-fueled rages or the gnawing fear that his queerness would torch the Hale legacy. A backhand for staring too long at the waiter during dinner at Per Se. A boot to the ribs after I dared question why he ghosted me for a weekend business trip to that smelled like cologne and lies. I told myself it was the pressure, the vultures circling his inheritance, the paparazzi drones buzzing like hornets outside the building, the family therapist who prescribed pills that turned his charm brittle. But deep down, I knew Alex craved control because the world denied him any. In those fevered nights when he'd pin me to the silk sheets, his hips grinding with possessive fury, it blurred, pain and pleasure twisting like lovers in a knife fight. I'd wake with fingerprints blooming on my thighs, his arms slung heavy across my chest, and convince myself it was passion's price. I own you, Gabe, he'd growl in the dark, nails digging crescents into my shoulder blades. No one else gets this, and God help me, I believed him, because in the quiet hours before sunrise, he'd trace my scars and promise. One day, we'll run. Just you and me. Fuck the empire. New York swallowed us whole that first winter. The city a glittering beast that fed on ambition and spat out husks. I adapted quick, tailored suits over holsters, eyes scanning for threats in the throng of Fifth Avenue shoppers or the shadowed alleys behind exclusive clubs. Alex's world was a carousel of excess, red carpet premieres where he'd flash that megawatt smile for the flashes, then drag me to underground speakeasies in the village, where the air reeked of weed and whispered deals. Away from the handlers, he'd lean into me at the scarred oak bar, his thigh pressed against mine under the table, ordering Manhattans like they were antidotes. To us, he'd toast, clinking glasses with a wink that made my chest ache. Those were the good nights, when the alcohol loosened his guards, and he'd spill secrets like loose change, the boarding school flings that ended in blackmail, the mother who overdosed on Valium when he was 12, leaving him to navigate his father's iron-fisted court alone. But the darkness lurked, a shadow puppeteer pulling strings. His father's death in a freak yacht accident off the Hamptons catapulted Alex to CEO at 29, a crown of thorns that drew blood daily. The boardroom wolves smelled weakness, the whispers about his lifestyle, the leaked photos of him too cozy with a male co-star at Coachella. Paranoia seeped in like fog off the Hudson, turning his touches possessive, his words barbed. You're mine to protect, Gabe, he'd say, but it came out twisted, like a warning. The first real beating landed after a gala at the Met, where I'd intercepted a reporter sniffing too close to our corner booth. Alex? 3 whiskeys deep and cornered by investors grilling him on succession plans. Saw red. Back in the penthouse elevator, his fist cracked against my jaw before the doors even dinged shut. You embarrassed me, he roared, as I slumped against the mirrored wall, tasting copper. He paced like a caged panther, hurling a Lalique vase that exploded in a spray of crystal shrapnel. I didn't fight back, couldn't. Not when he collapsed onto the leather sectional, head in hands, sobbing. What if they take it all away? What if they find out about us? I patched myself up in the guest bath, the one with the heated marble floors that mocked my swelling eye in the fogged mirror. Staring at my reflection, hazel eyes dulled by fatigue, the marine buzz cut now threaded with premature gray, I wondered when I'd become this ghost. haunting my own life. But love's a stubborn weed, rooting deep in cracked concrete. By morning, he'd brewed coffee strong as tar, slid a platinum Amex across the counter for whatever you need, and pulled me into a kiss that tasted like redemption. I can't lose you, he breathed, fingers gentle now, threading through my hair. And just like that, the cycle spun on, affection's high chasing abuses low. A carousel greased with denial. Spring thawed the city into bloom. Central Park a riot of green that couldn't touch the frost in Alex's veins. We escaped to the Hamptons estate one weekend. His reward after closing a merger that netted the company a streaming giant. The drive was euphoric, top down on the Bentley, wind whipping our hair, Springsteen blasting Born to Run as if it were our anthem. At the beach house, with its weathered shingles and infinity pool kissing the Atlantic, we pretended we were normal. Days blurred into lazy hedonism, him in board shorts, bronzed and laughing as we grilled lobster on the deck, me in faded Levi's, teaching him to skip stones across the waves, his curses turning to cheers when he nailed it. Nights were ours alone, no security details, no prying eyes. We'd make love on the king bed with its gauzy curtains billowing like sails, his body arching under mine, vulnerable in a way that made my heart splinter. I love you, Gabe, he'd gasp, eyes locked on mine, the words a lifeline in the storm. But paradise cracked under pressure. Midway through, his phone buzzed incessantly, texts from Jordan, his slick-haired VP, laced with urgency about sensitive matters. Alex dismissed them at first, but by Sunday, the calls turned vicious. Jordan's voice tinny through the speaker, the boards circling. Alex, that photo from Miami? It's resurfacing. We need to spin it hard. The photo was us. Blurry but damning. My arm around his waist in that club 7 years prior, leaked by some vengeful ex-employee. Alex's face drained of color. And that night, as thunder rolled in from the sea, he shattered. I found him in the study, lines of white powder arrayed on the mahogany desk like battlements. Make it stop, he begged, pupils blown wide, grabbing my collar and yanking me close. When I hesitated, knowing the coke twisted him feral, he shoved me back, hard enough to crack a rib against the desk's edge. The pain bloomed hot, but I swallowed it, pulling him into a hug as he retched apologies into my shirt. Back in the city, the machine ground on. Alex threw himself into damage control, photo ops with starlit arm candy at Knicks games, straight PR spins that curdled my stomach. I shadowed him silently, the holster at my hip a cold comfort, my body a map of his tempests, faded yellows on my arms, a perpetual knot in my shoulder from a thrown lamp during a Versace runway after-party meltdown. Friends? We had none. Not really. My Marine buddies had drifted after I went Hollywood, and Alex's circle was a viper pit of enablers who vanished at the first whiff of scandal. So it was just us, isolated in that 5,000 square foot area, the Hudson a murky moat below. The betrayal hit like a gut punch on a sweltering July eve, the kind where the air clings like regret. I'd been pulling a double, escorting him to a fundraiser at Cipriani, schmoozing donors who eyed me like furniture. By midnight, he was buzzed on champagne, charming the room with anecdotes about yacht deals and polo matches. I waited in the shadowed alcove, nursing a club soda, when I saw it, Jordan, that weasel with his gelled coif and shark smile, cornering Alex near the balcony doors. Their heads bent close, Jordan's hand lingering on Alex's lower back, sliding lower as Alex laughed. The way he used to with me. My blood turned to ice. I slipped closer, hidden by a marble pillar, and heard the murmur, "We can't keep dancing around this. But the board needs stability." Keep me on the side, problem solved. Alex's reply was a hush, but his fingers grazed Jordan's tie, pulling him in. You're right. Discreet. Like always, I bolted before the nausea one, hailing a cab in the muggy night, the city lights blurring through unshed tears. Back at my sublet in Hell's Kitchen, a stark contrast to the penthouse. With its leaky faucet and threadbare couch, I paced until dawn, replaying the scene like a bad loop. 7 years of bruises, of stolen tenderness, of believing I was his salvation, and for what? A side hustle to appease the suits? By 8 a.m. my phone lit up, missed calls from Alex, texts laced with panic. Where are you? Talk to me. I ghosted him. The first crack in my armor, holding up with takeout lo mein and the ghosts of was. He found me that afternoon, pounding on the door like Judgment Day. I let him in, steeling myself for the storm. He looked wrecked, hair disheveled, eyes red-rimmed, the Armani suit rumpled like it had been slept in. What the fuck? Did you vanish after a party? His voice cracked, accusation laced with fear. I didn't flinch, just crossed my arms over the chest he'd marked so many times. Saw you with Jordan. The discreet plan. Congrats on the upgrade. The words hung heavy, and for a beat, he deflated, sinking onto the sagging futon. It's not fit. Listen. The photo's viral now. They're threatening to oust me unless I play straight. Jordan's just a buffer. A way to buy time. Time for what? I shot back, voice steady despite the quake in my gut. To keep beating the shit out of me when the stress hits? To pretend I'm your dirty little secret while you build a life that erases us? The dam broke then, words I'd swallowed for years flooding out, raw and unfiltered. He surged up, face twisting. You think it's that easy? You think I don't hate myself every time? His fist clenched, and I braced, muscle memory kicking in. But he swung at the wall instead, drywall crumbling under his knuckles, blood streaking white paint. I need you. You're the only one who stays. That's not love. Alex, I said. Tighter now. The truth a blade between us. That's ownership. And I'm done being your punching bag. She froze. Hand dripping red. Eyes searching mine like a man lost at sea. For the first time, I saw it, not the air, not the monster, but the boy who'd lost his mother to pills and his father to ambition, clinging to control because surrender meant drowning. Gabe. Please. His voice broke, a whisper that echoed the boy from Miami. I stepped closer, cupping his face, Anna, despite the urge to shatter. You have to let me go, or we'll both sink. He pulled away, stumbling toward the door, but paused, turning back with eyes that mirrored my own fractures. If I do, you'll come back. It wasn't a demand, just a plea, fragile as spun glass. I nodded, throat tight. When you're ready to fight for us, not against me. The door clicked shut, and the silence roared louder than any storm. Autumn painted the city in fire, leaves scorching red along the High Line. Pumpkins rotting on stoops in Brooklyn. The air crisp with the promise of change I wasn't sure I could trust. I took the severance Alex wired that morning, 6 figures. A gag clause buried in the fine print, and vanished into the grid, crashing with an old core buddy in Queens who ran a gym for vets. Mornings blurred into punishing routines, heavy bag until my knuckles split, sprints through Flushing Meadows that left my lungs burning like penance. Nights were worse. The sublet exchanged for a bunk in a walk-up that smelled of curry and regret, where dreams replayed our tangled sheets in vivid betrayal. Ide bakasweatin. His phantom touch on my skin, whispering like a curse. Word traveled fast in our echo chamber. Alex's strategic alliance with Jordan went public 2 weeks later. A glossy spread in Vanity Fair painting them as the bromance duo saving Hale Media from creative doldrums. The photo ops stung, Alex in bespoke wool. Jordan's arms slung casual across his shoulders at a MoMA opening. Their smiles mirror images of calculated charm. Tabloids speculated wedding bells to that starlet. Elena Voss. A Botoxed ingenue with a laugh like tinkling ice. I avoided the feeds, drowning in protein shakes and pickup basketball at the Y. But the city conspired. Billboards looming over Times Square with Alex's face hawking the latest streaming slate. Hale's bold new era, the tagline mocked. My first real fracture came at a dive bar in Astoria, the kind with neon flickering like a migraine and jukebox crooning Springsteen ballads. I was 3 IPAs in, nursing the bruise of solitude, when a face from the penthouse shadows slid onto the stool beside me. Marcus? Alex's former driver. A burly Jamaican with a gold tooth and a heart too soft for the game. You look like shit warmed over. His pat on the back was brotherly, pulling stories from me like loose threads. Over shots of rum, he spilled, Alex unraveling post-split. Nights holed up with blow and bourbon. Jordan's guidance turning tyrant. Boss man scared. Gabe. Not of the board, of losing you for real. Jordan? That's poison. Pure and simple. Pushing him toward that wedding to lock the shares. I waved it off. But the seed took root, sprouting doubt in the barren soil of my resolve. By dawn, buzzed and bold, I texted Alex, coffee? Neutral ground. No bullshit. His reply pinged instant, Dean and DeLuca. 10 a.m. Please. The cafe was a neutral Switzerland of exposed brick and overpriced lattes. Sunlight slanting through windows like hesitant fingers. He arrived late. Trench coat dusted with October chill, eyes shadowed under that perfect hair. We sat across a tiny table, steam rising between us like a veil. You look good, he said, voice rough, tracing the rim of his cup. Lies. My reflection in the window showed hollow cheeks. The weight I'd dropped sharpening my angles to blades. Cut the charm, Alex. Marcus talked. Jordan's got you leashed. His laugh was bitter, a sound I'd never heard from him. Jealous, but it died quick, replaced by a sigh that aged him a decade. It's survival, Gabe. Elena's the key, her family's got tech patents we need. Marion, merge empires. Squash the rumors. He reached across, fingers brushing mine, electric as ever. But it's you I want. Always has been. The pull was magnetic, his touch igniting embers I'd banked low. We talked for hours, the cafe emptying around us, Him confessing the Coke's grip tightening. Jordan's manipulations weaving a noose of NDAs and threats. He knows about us. Uses it like a club. My gut twisted, betrayal layered on betrayal. Jordan not just a side piece but a saboteur. By noon, we'd migrated to his hotel suite uptown, a sterile plaza airy, far from the penthouse ghosts. Walls came down in whispers, clothes shedding like old skin. It was slow, reverent, his lips mapping apologies on my collarbone, my hands gentle on the fresh track marks hidden in his elbow creases. I need help, Gabe, he admitted in the afterglow, head pillowed on my chest, vulnerability cracking his armor. Rehab, therapy, the whole nine. For us. I held him tighter. The Marine in me plotting logistics, discreet clinics in Connecticut, a security detail minus the abuse. Hope flickered, fragile as a match in wind. But Jordan struck first. A serpent in the garden. 2 days later, as I scouted facilities online in my Queen's crash pad, my phone buzzed with an anonymous link, a grainy video, time-stamped from the Hamptons weekend. Me and Alex, tangled on the deck chaise, moans unmistakable even muffled by waves. The angle? From inside the house, Jordan's doing, no doubt, his insurance policy. The attached note, walk away, or this hits TMZ. He's mine now. Rage boiled, hot and holy, propelling me to the penthouse by cab, storming past the doorman with a glare that parted seas. Alex was mid-conference call when I burst in, screens glowing with boardroom faces frozen in shock. Jordan lounged in the corner, smug as sin, nursing a scotch. Gabriel, Alex stammered, muting the line, face paling. What? I didn't let him finish. Slamming my phone on the desk. The video looping silent accusations. Jordan's smirk faltered, but he recovered quick, protecting assets. Hale needs stability, not scandals. Alex's eyes darted between us. The boy from Miami warring with the CO mask. You recorded us? In my own house. His voice was thunder. But Jordan shrugged. Oily confidence intact. Collateral. You were spiraling. Fights. I saved your ass. The room tilted. Years of fractures converging. I stepped forward, towering over Jordan's wiry frame, my fist itching for purchase. You think this ends it? Blackmail's a coward's play. But Alex intervened, hand on my arm, trembling. Enough. Pardon. Now, the VP slunk away, tail between legs, but not before hissing. You'll regret this. Blown. Alex collapsed into his chair, head in hands. He's right. I'm poison. Gabe. Can't even protect you from my own mess. I knelt before him, forcing eye contact, my thumbs brushing tears from his lashes. Then we fight it together. Rehab first. No more hiding. That night marked the pivot. Alex checking into Silver Hill under alias. Me bunking in the family wing. A silent sentinel sans the violence. Days blurred into therapy marathons, group circles where he spilled his father's shadow. The internalized shame of loving men in a dynasty built on facades. I'd sit outside, chain-smoking camels, wrestling my own demons, the PTSD flares that made crowds close in like IED blasts, the guilt of enabling his rages. Evenings were ours. Tentative bridges, walks in the facility gardens, hands brushing leaves like secrets. I see you now, Gabe, he'd say, voice steadying. The man who stayed, not the shadow I cast. Discharge brought the real war. Back in the city, Jordan rallied the board. Leaks dripping like venom, Alex's instability, whispers of my inappropriate influence. Elena played her part. Engagements announced in crisp press releases. Her Instagram a parade of diamond flashes and yacht sunsets. Alex held firm, publicly courting her while stealing nights with me in anonymous Airbnbs in Harlem. Our lovemaking a rebellion, fierce, reclaiming. This is temporary, he'd vow, tracing my scars like Braille apologies. But doubt not, I caught him staring at the ring box on his nightstand, Elena's placeholder gleaming like judgment. Climax brewed in December's chill. A holiday gala at the Waldorf where alliances shattered. I was off duty, blending into the crowd as +1 camouflage. When Jordan cornered Alex in a gilded powder room, voices echoing off marble. Sign the merger, or the video drops. Elena's waiting, your legacy depends on it. Alex's retort was steel, fuck the legacy. I'm done performing. The scuffle erupted, Jordan lunging. Alex shoving back, and I burst in. Instincts firing. Separating them with a forearm bar that left Jordan wheezing. Security swarmed. But Alex waved them off. Chest heaving. It's over. Jordan. You're fired. And that video? My lawyers are already burying you. In the aftermath, as sirens wailed faintly outside, Alex turned to me, eyes wide, not with the old rage, but a dawning fear, raw and exposed. Gabe, what if I can't fix this? What if I'm too broken? He looked small, the empire crumbling around him like snow off eaves. For the first time, I saw the power shift, not my fist raised, but his walls tumbling, afraid of the void without them. I pulled him close, amid the chaos of tuxedos and tiaras, whispering, then we rebuilt. Brick by brick. Together. The fallout was biblical, a reckoning that scorched the Hale Empire's polished facade. Jordan's ouster made headlines, VP sacked in power struggle, but not before he torched bridges. Dumping terabytes of dirt to Gawker wannabes, emails hinting at cooked books. Voicemails of Alex's meltdowns laced with slurs born of self-hate. Elena bolted. Her heartbroken statement a masterclass in spin. Wetting off amid irreconcilable visions. The board convened emergency sessions. Proxy fights erupting like wildfires. Investors pulling strings to install a steady hand. Alex holed up in the penthouse, chain-smoking Marlboros despite his post-rehab vows. The floor littered with takeout cartons and dog-eared scripts for his reinvention as a producer. I became his bulwark, not just shadow but strategist, poring over bylaws till 4 a.m., connecting him with a queer litigator from Lambda Legal who shredded Jordan's threats like tissue. Sleepless nights bred intimacy's fragile bloom, him curled against me on the sectional, recounting boarding school cruelties, the headmaster's cures for his wandering eyes on teammates in the showers. I learned to hit first, he'd murmur, fingers tracing my latest bruise, not from him, but a stray elbow in a boardroom tussle I'd broken up. I'd kiss his temple, tasting salt, and counter with my own confessions, the buddy in Iraq who died shielding me, the discharge papers that branded me unfit after a breakdown in Kandahar. We survive by breaking, I'd say, our breaths sinking like a shared pulse. But survival's a grindstone, wearing edges dull. Holiday lights twinkled mockingly from Bergdorf windows as we navigated minefields. Family holidays skipped. Alex's sister, a Park Avenue ice queen, phoning with ultimatums, marry straight or lose the trust. He hung up mid-rant, hurling the phone into the tree that cost $1,000, ornaments shattering like dreams. The swing came instinctive, his fist glancing my shoulder as I blocked, but he recoiled, horror etching his face. Not again. We stood frozen, the air thick with ghosts, until he sank to the floor, knees to chest, rocking like a child. I joined him amid the glitter dust wreckage, holding space for the sobs that racked him. I'm sorry. Good. I'm so sorry. That night, no sex, no distractions, just presence. My arms his harbor as dawn crept in gray. January thawed the impasse with a shareholder vote. Alex retaining control by a razor-thin margin. His speech, a raw monologue on authenticity over artifice, going viral among Gen Z activists. Hail media isn't just content, he declared from the dais. The steady, me a ghost in the wings. It's stories. And ours deserve telling. No filters. Applause thundered. But backstage, vulnerability resurfaced, him gripping my lapels, whispering, I did it for us. To be free. We celebrated low-key, dim sum in Chinatown, ducking paparazzi in fogged windows, his hand in mine under the table. A quiet revolution. Yet freedom's price is vigilance. Jordan resurfaced in February, slimy as ever, peddling his tell-all to page 6, inside the Hail Air's downfall, drugs, and forbidden loves. The piece dropped like a grenade. My name redacted but details damning, bruises described in lurid strokes. Our Miami origin myth twisted into predation. Strangers stared on subways. Whispers trailing like smoke. That bodyguard. The one he beat. Alex lawyered up. Countersuits flying. But the stain lingered, eroding his fragile sobriety. One night, post a brutal deposition, he relapsed, lines snorted off a mirror in the powder room. Eyes wild when I found him. Just once, to cope, he slurred. But the lie crumbled as paranoia spiked. Accusations flying. You leaked it. Didn't you? To get back at me? The shove was mutual that time. I pushed him away from the balcony edge, where he'd staggered, ranting about jumping to end the circus. He swung blind, fist connecting with my jaw, a crack that echoed like finality. I tasted blood, vision spotting, but something snapped, not rage, but clarity. No more, I growled, grabbing his wrists, pinning him against the cold glass overlooking the void. His struggles weakened, chest heaving, and then the shift. Those blue tempests widened not in fury but terror, of me leaving, of facing the abyss alone. Gabe. Don't. I can't. The plea broke him open, tears streaming as he sagged against me, the fight leaching out like poison drawn. We called his sponsor at 2 a.m., a grizzled ex-cop who'd clawed from similar pits, bundling Alex into an Uber for an emergency NA meeting in the village. I followed at distance, heart pounding, but stayed curbside, respecting the boundary. Dawn found me at the gym, pounding the bag till my hands bled, whispering mantras from therapy, not your war to win alone. By noon, Alex texted, home. The penthouse felt haunted when I arrived, vacuumed shards from the tree long gone. But echoes lingered. He was showered, hair damp, nursing black coffee in sweats that hung loose on his frame. I almost lost everything tonight. You. His voice was sandpaper, eyes pleading. Both circles, boundaries, bottom lines, no more violence, mandatory check-ins, my right to walk if crossed. I love you, he said at last. Not as possession but prayer. But I have to earn it. Spring unfurled tentative. Cherry blossoms dusting the park like confetti for our armistice. Alex dove into production. A docuseries on queer icons in media. His baby. Greenlit despite board grumbles. I transition roles. Consulting for other high-profile clients. Carving space. Evenings at poetry slams in the Bowery. Reconnecting with a therapist who specialized in trauma bonds. Our dates evolved. Picnics in Prospect, where he'd read Kerouac aloud. Voice-weaving dreams of road-tripping Route 66 post-Empire. Sex shifted too. From frantic claims to unhurried worship. Him on his knees. Eyes locked upward in devotion. My fingers in his hair a gentle anchor. You're safe, I'd murmur. And mean it? The words a spell against old phantoms. Betrayal's scar itched, though, in quiet moments. Elena's camp leaked engagement rumors anew. A ploy to pressure Alex into merger talks. Ann Jordan lurked in legal purgatory. Appeals dragging like chains. One rainy April eve, as thunder grumbled over the bridges, Alex confessed over Thai takeout, I met with her today. Not for the ring, for closure. Told her the truth. His fork trembled. Dropping pad CEW. She knew about us. Said Jordan fed her lines to keep me off balance. The web tightened. Manipulations layered like onion skin. Rage flickered. Hot and helpless, but Alex squeezed my hand. We're cutting ties. All of them. Sell the company if we have to. The climax crested in May. At the Tribeca Fest premiere of his series. The house was packed, activists, critics, a smattering of old money skeptics. Alex shone on stage. Anecdotes landing like punches. His coming out not as scandal but salvation. Kuhn turned pointed, Mr. Pelt. Rumors of abuse in your personal life. And he didn't flinch. Glancing my way in the third row. I've hurt people I love. Worked it. Redemption's not a press release, it's daily. Applause swelled. But post-show, in the green room haze of craft cocktails, Jordan crashed the gate, drunk and desperate, flanked by a sleazy agent hawking his exposé. You think you're reformed? Pretty boy? I know the real Gabe, your thug boyfriend who... I rose slow. A wall of calm amid the gasp. But Alex was faster. Voice ice, security, as they dragged Jordan out. Flailing curses. Alex turned to the stunned circle, producers. Elena hovering pale, and said, clear as gospel, Gabriel's not my boyfriend. He's my partner. The man who saved me from myself. Silence. Then cheers. Elena's nod a quiet absolution. Said, rain slicking the streets. Alex pulled me into an alley kiss, deep, unapologetic. Cameras be damned. I stood up, he breathed against my lips. For us. In that moment, fear's ghost visited him again, not of loss, but of joy's fragility. What if it's not enough? He whispered. hands framing my face, thumbs tracing my jaw where old bruises faded. I smiled. Real for the first time in years. It is. Because we're enough. Summer baked the city into a fever dream. Asphalt shimmering like mirages of escape. With Jordan's book deal torpedoed by countersuits, defamation suits that bled him dry, Alex pivoted hard. Divesting non-core assets to fund indie ventures. A queer-led studio in Bushwick. Grants for LGBTQ+ filmmakers scraping by in basements. The board grumbled but complied. His poll numbers soaring among millennials who devoured his TED Talk on vulnerability as currency. Moved. Ditching the penthouse for a brownstone in Brooklyn Heights. Brownstone with creaky stairs and a garden plot where I planted tomatoes. Absurdly domestic. Look at us, Alex laughed one dusk. Watering can in hand. His linen shirt rolled to elbows. Ink from a fresh tattoo peeking. Authentic scripted in elegant cursive along his forearm. Life wove normalcy's threadbare quilt. Mornings. Him journaling at the kitchen island. Sunlight gilding his profile as I brewed Chemex strong enough to wake the dead. Afternoons. Split paths. Me training new security hires at a firm in Flatiron. Emphasizing de-escalation over dominance. Him in pitch meetings. Charm honed to advocacy. Evenings blurred intimate. Cooking pasta al dente, his Italian nana's recipe. Unearthed from recipe cards yellowed by time. Binging The Wire on the sagging couch. His head in my lap as credits rolled. Sex was rediscovery, lazy Sundays in sun-dappled sheets. Exploring with painter's patience. Laughter bubbling when knees knocked lamps. I never knew elbows could be erogenous, he'd tease. Nipping my collarbone. His body no longer battlefield but home. Yet humanism's arc bends slow. Scars itching under healing skin. Alex's therapy unearthed landmines, sessions where he'd dissociate. Voice flat reciting abuse cycles, father hit first. So I learned to swing. I'd wait in the lobby. Flipping the Atlantic. Fighting the urge to shield. My own work mirrored, group therapy for vets. Where I shared fragments, loved a man who marked me. But marks fade if you let him. Bonds formed tentative. A coffee clatch with other survivors turning confessional. One night, over pierogies at a Polish spot in Greenpoint, Alex met them, my circle. Rough-edged but real. Stories swapped like currency, his Miami lows. Their deployments. Love's the real combat, a grizzled sergeant grunted. Clapping Alex's shoulder. For the first time, Alex didn't posture. Just nodded. Eyes glassy. Amen. Betrayal's echo lingered in microfractures. Elena resurfaced at a fundraiser for the Ali Forney Center. Her arm linked with a new beau, a soft-spoken documentarian with kind eyes. No hard feelings, she air-kissed Alex. But her gaze flicked to me. Appraising. It's inspiring. Later, over Chardonnay. She pulled him aside. Jordan confessed everything, the setups. The gaslighting. I'm testifying if it goes to trial. Absolution. Partial but potent. Easing a knot I'd carried unwitting. Jordan's trial loomed in September. A circus of depositions in a federal courthouse downtown, where his swagger wilted under cross-exam. Alex testified steady, detailing the blackmail's toll. His voice cracking only once. He weaponized my fears. But love? That's what disarmed them. The jury deliberated 2 days. Verdict ringing like vindication. Guilty on extortion. 5 years plus restitution. Flashbulbs popped as we clasped hands. Partners? Public now, Alex's whisper fierce, we won. Autumn's palette deepened resolve. We road-tripped the Hudson Valley. Leaves ablaze, Alex photographed obsessively, his Canon clicking like affirmations. In a roadside diner near Beacon, pie steam curling between us, he slid a key across the Formica to the cabin in the Catskills. Ours. No Wi-Fi. No wolves. The purchase was impulsive. The A-frame with a wood stove and loft bed. Where we'd escape come winter, first vacation, sans shadows. Back home, he proposed, not with fanfare, but post-run in the garden, sweat slick and breathless, dropping to one knee amid mud. Marry me, Gabe. Not for show, for the quiet. The ring was simple, black tungsten etched with coordinates of that Miami beach, slipping on like fate's glove. Yes, I choked, pulling him up into a kiss that tasted of earth and forever. Climax's afterglow bred growth's pains. Alex's series snagged Emmy's buzz. Panels devolving into debates on queer trauma porn, critics sniping his redemption arc as privileged. He internalized. Nights pacing the brownstone. Self-doubt a serpent. Am I just the poster boy now? Erasing the mess. I ground him. Hands on hips. You're human, Alex. That's the point. One flare-up saw him snap, slamming a cabinet during a call with finicky investors, glass shattering. Shards nicking my hand as I swept. No swing. But the echo chilled. We paused. Breathing exercises from his app. Then talked till midnight, triggers mapped. Safe word set, Fallujah, for my halts. Boardroom for his. Progress. Incremental as tides. Humanism bloomed in margins. We volunteered at the center. Alex mentoring kids with stories too familiar, runaways clutching backpacks. Eyes haunted by rejection. One boy, Timmy, 16 with a mohawk and trust issues, latched onto me during self-defense workshops. His thanks man, after a takedown beaming brighter than any gala. Alex watched. Pride softening his edges, you're good with them. Father material. The word hung. A seed, adoption talks whispered in bed. Futures sketched on napkins. Holidays healed too, Thanksgiving with my vet crew. Turkey charred but laughter abundant. Christmas at the cabin. Tree felled by our clumsy hands. Ornaments from thrift shops dangling stories. Winter gripped gentle. Snow muffling the world's roar. At the cabin, isolation wove magic, bonfires crackling. Esmerays sticky on fingers as we slow danced to Dylan on a Bluetooth speaker. Boots crunching frost. One blizzard-bound night. Power out. We huddled under quilts. Candles guttering shadows. Remember Miami? Alex murmured, tracing my dog tags. Thought that was peak life. I chuckled. This is unscripted. Lovemaking by firelight was sacrament, bodies attuned. His gasps prayers. My touches blessings. Afterward, tangled limbs. He confessed deepest fear. What if I hurt you again? Not fists, words. Neglect. The empire's pull. I cupped his face. Thumb grazing the faint scar from a boyhood fall. Then we hurt. And heal. That's the human part. Dawn broke white. And we shoveled out. World renewed. Spring 2026 cycled full. Cherry petals confetti for our courthouse wedding. Small. Just witnesses. My sergeant buddy. Alex's sister thawed by time. Elena as odd auntie. Vows exchanged in a judge's chambers. Rings exchanged anew. Sealing promises. Reception? A stoop party on our block. Neighbors toasting with PBR. Kids from the center dancing to bad karaoke. Alex pulled me aside mid-swirl. Eyes shining, afraid I'd never deserve this. I kissed his temple. You do. We do. Years layered on. The story not ending but evolving. Fights flaring over dishes or deadlines. Make-up sex fiercer for it. Jamie fostering into our home. His laughter filling silences. Alex's memoir. Unscripted. A bestseller that funded scholarships. Bruises? Faded to anecdotes. Therapy's gift. And in quiet moments, when fear ghosts his gaze, I stand, not in defiance, but partnership. Because love, American as apple pie and endless roads, isn't perfection. It's standing up, together, afraid but unbroken.